Many people are talking about Nature Boy being a cult leader and about the way in which he's programming his followers, right? I watched a live stream in which he was interacting with some of our family members, and in this live stream, he began to exhibit some very textbook cult leader pathology. He was using the tactics of distraction and misinformation to thwart the efforts of Velvet to actually express herself to our family. We use distraction to break a train of thought. And basically, this type of abusive behavior led me to wonder how a group of people could fall into the hands of a cult leader so easily and so unwittingly. Very intelligent people, but yet still, they have a propensity to be controlled and programmed with the mention of religion or the mention of esoteric doctrines, spiritual philosophies that are outside of the norm, right? And so I wondered, how could this take place? And it really led me to a conclusion that as a result of the plantation programming, many of our people are unable to break the spell of institutionalized religion. You know, um, if we can recall, on the plantation, Christianity was heavily practiced. The slave master actually held devotions and prayer and praise and worship on the plantation while we were in shackles, while we were in captivity, while some of us were lynched and killed. The slave master still incorporated the Christian tradition as a control tactic, right? Now, if we can consider in any of the countries which experienced the plantation era, one of the prevailing ideas that still persisted through time is the Christian church philosophy, right? Now, how did it persist to such a point and to such an extent that today we have people who can be easily manipulated by Christianity or easily manipulated by institutionalized religion, you know? Um, Personally, let me use my situation as an example because I think people could benefit from understanding the situation from my experience, right? Now, I live on an island with a population of about 290,000 people, right? There are other islands that are connected to this chain of islands, which have a population, some with 20,000 people, some with 1,000 people, some with about 200 people. But the one thing which is clear is that I live in a religious fundamentalist state. As far flung as the islands may be, as sparse and how large the borders might be of this country, the Bahamas, the institution of Christian religion is one of the pillars of the society, right? It persisted directly from the plantation era to present day. It's taught in the high schools. It's emblazoned on the walls of courts. It's on the radio waves constantly, right? There's a prayer and praise and worship segment of every national holiday, okay? And so on every street, there's a church. On every street, if there isn't a church, there's a building that is related to a church, okay? On every street corner, you will find that there's either a bar or a Christian church on the corner. Now, why am I saying this? Why am I saying this? Just hear me out. As a result of this programming, right, many of our people tend to live life through a mythological framework, right? Um, if you look at my description, right, I have a beard, long hair, right, and because of this, I'm a Rastafarian. But because of this, having long hair and a beard, many people associate me with Christ, right? Now listen to what I'm saying very carefully. Many people associate me with Christ. Okay, now keep in mind, I live in a religious fundamentalist state. Okay, people don't tend to look at it that way, but everywhere in the society, it is publicly known that Christianity is a major pillar in our society, right? But as I walk around the streets with dreadlocks and with a beard, many devout Christians tend to look at me in a sort of like, they sort of like gazing at me with wonderment sometimes. Some people actually try to make incidental contact with me by touching me or brushing up against me, touching my hair, you know, and I'm not trying to make fun of them. I'm not trying to make fun of them, and I hope that nobody is laughing at this situation because it's a serious psychological problem. In fact, it's a sick psychology, but many people associate me with Christ. I was walking down the street like a year ago, and this person stopped me like, "Yeah, man, you look like Jesus, right?" Right? So I was just taken aback by it, but I paid him no mind. But I really wanted people in our society to consider that Christ was actually a black man. So for them to make that association between me and Christ, I wasn't exactly mad at them. But it wasn't until I noticed a trend of behavior in which people actually try to come and shake my hand, hold my hand. People try to brush against me. They go out of their way to brush against me to create some kind of contact, you know. But it's only because of the mythological programming of Christianity, the slave master's version of Christianity, that many of our people today find themselves unable to break the shackles of the religious spells that people have cast on them. So the religion that was practiced while we were in bondage has become our state religion, has become the way in which we perceive the outside world, right? But also, in relation to Nature Boy's situation, I can tell that what is going on in Nature Boy's camp is that he has found a way to exploit this trait in black people, which makes them like an immediate prisoner under the spell of religion. As soon as a person mentions spiritual philosophies and religion, many black people find themselves unable to break away from this programming or this type of utterance, and I think that what we have found is that a situation like carbonation occurs because we have people who are easily susceptible to religious programming, and this is something in the Rastafari community. We try to break the colonial programming of westernized religion, which they have programmed us to look at the world and gravitate to, okay, and look at the world through. All right, but I just wanted to make a quick comment. I wouldn't want to make a long story any longer, but I may continue this discourse in another video because, as I said, this wasn't really planned. I just thought I would make a mention of it because I see that around the world, Nature Boy is not the only person that is weaving this spell on black people. Nature Boy is no different from every other pastor and priest in black countries who was able to manipulate people into giving them their hard-earned money in exchange for them to live a life of opulence. And so many people think that by doing something for the pastor, they are actually doing this thing for God. And this is a part of the sick psychology that cult leaders are able to influence and employ in order to change the mindset of people and have them under their religious programming. But just let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. What do you think about all of this? What are your thoughts? One love.